Ciao a tutti! Hello everyone! Welcome to Fly High, where you're gonna be flying high in language learning with me, Francesca. Are you guys ready for a new episode? By the end of this lesson, you will have learned the verb to have in Italian, il verbo avere, all its main uses, and some very useful everyday expressions. Also, did you know that in Italian, to say how old we are, we actually say how many years we have? All of these and more coming up right now. So let's begin. So we have here the verb to have, il verbo avere. Verbo avere. Avere is the infinitive of have, to have. Verbo means verb. Here is the conjugation in the present tense. Io ho, I have. Tu hai, you have. Lui ha, he has. Lei ha, she has. Noi abbiamo, we have. Voi avete, you have for the plural form. And finally, loro hanno, they have. Okay, so this is the conjugation in the present tense of avere. Did you see the H? So why do we keep the H in I, you, he and she, and they in the plural, o, I, a, and hanno? Why? It's because Italian derives from Latin, and to have in Latin was spelled as avere in the infinitive. So the language then evolved, and it lost the use of the H for most words, but it retained it in some forms, just not to create ambiguity. So this is the rule, basically. We see it in practice, and this is a curious fact, curiosità. Curiosità in Italian, curiosity. This is the example here. So, ho means I have, right? But if we were to say o without the H, that is the Italian word for or. So you can see here that would be pretty confusing if they were spelled the same. Same for I, you have, which without the H would be spelled I, and it would mean to the. It's the preposition, okay, to the. Then we go a, he or she has, but if it was spelled without the H, that'd be the preposition a, which means to. And finally, hanno, they have, without the H, corresponds to anno, the year. You can see here that would be quite confusing if they were all spelled the same way. So the H comes really in handy. You know that if it is like o, I, and anno with the H, it only means I have, you have, he, she has, they have. No other words are spelled the same way in Italian, okay? This is pretty helpful. Let's move on and to see the uses of to have. To have is used pretty much the same way as in English, avere, so it's used mainly for indicating possession. For example, ho un fratello e una sorella. I have a brother and a sister. Ho un fratello e una sorella. Abbiamo due cani. We have two dogs. Noi, it would be the noi, abbiamo due cani. We already saw that the subject, the personal subject pronouns are not needed to be used when in the sentence, basically, because the termination of the verb is different for each subject pronoun. So technically they are redundant. So we just say, instead of saying noi abbiamo, we say abbiamo due cani. We have 2 dogs. Then we go another example. Andrea non ha soldi. Andrea doesn't have any money. Andrea non ha soldi. And then again, avete una macchina? Do you have a car? So first use, the main use is to express that you own something, that you have something, just like in English. Now, other uses, or better to say, other examples where we don't use avere, while in English we use it. Let's see here, to have a Coke. In English we say to have a Coke when we mean to drink a Coke. In Italian we would say prendere una coca, o bere, to drink a Coke. So we don't use have, we don't use avere, we don't say avere una coca, we say prendere. Again, another example, to have a shower. To have a shower, no, we don't say avere una doccia, we say fare una doccia. To do a shower, that's the Italian expression for to have a shower, fare una doccia. Then we have to have breakfast, to have lunch, and to have dinner. Here, the to have in English means to eat. In Italian, we say fare colazione. We don't say to have breakfast. We say to do breakfast. And to have lunch, we have a one-word verb, pranzare, which means exactly to have lunch. So you will have to use that, okay? So pranzare. And to have dinner, we have the same one-word verb, which means to have dinner. So that cenare means to have dinner. So we don't say avere cenare or avere pranzare. We just say pranzare, we just say cenare. Simple as that. And the animation, the cookies just got soaked a little bit too late. We already passed it to have breakfast. But in any case, then we go. Little Winnie is clearly very hungry. And in Italian, we don't say we are hungry. We say we have hunger. So that's quite curious. So we say avere fame. Avere fame is the Italian expression for to be hungry, which literally translates as to have hunger. When you want to say I'm hungry, you will have to say ho fame. Ho fame. Okay. Now, moving on to thirsty. Be thirsty in Italian is avere sete. Avere sete, which literally translates as to have thirst. Ho sempre sete la mattina, the example says. I'm always thirsty in the morning. Ho sempre sete la mattina. So we use to have to indicate thirst, that you have thirst. Then the same is for to be cold. To be cold is avere freddo. Avere freddo. Ho freddo means I'm cold. The little guy there is saying ho freddo, I'm cold. And then we go avere caldo. Avere caldo is to be hot. But literally it means to have hot. And I'm putting all these literal translations there because I'm thinking it might actually make more sense if you guys know what it literally translates as. And it might be easier to know, okay, how the Italians say to have hot, to say to be hot. I'm hoping I'm not confusing you, but I think it's quite useful to have literal translations, and I quite like to explain as well where the languages have got similarities when they have differences. I think it's quite fascinating really in a language. So the example here for avere caldo goes as abbiamo caldo in questa camera. We are hot in this room. Now we have more expressions with to have. We have avere sonno. Avere sonno is when you're sleepy. Il panda ha sonno. The panda bear is sleepy. So to be sleepy is avere sonno, but literally means to have sleep. Then we have avere fretta. Avere fretta is to be in a hurry. Literally, to have hurry. Hai fretta di uscire. Are you in a hurry to get out? Hai fretta di uscire. And then we also say, with the verb to have, with avere, when we are afraid of something. Avere paura di, to have fear of. I have fear of the dark. I bambini hanno paura del buio, children are afraid of the dark. Ok, so avere paura di means to be afraid of something. And a few more expressions before we move on to ask about somebody's age, which is really interesting and we used to have in there. Avere ragione means to be right. And little Calimero is an old cartoon, so I'm not sure it's probably not very popular abroad, outside Italy, but it's really, really cute. It's an old cartoon of the, I think, 50s and 60s, so if you want to check it out, Calimero. So Calimero is saying, hai ragione, you are right, hai ragione. And to say you are wrong, you would say hai torto. You see the example below, avere torto means to be wrong. Chi ha torto in questa situazione? Who is wrong in this situation? Then we have avere vergogna. Avere vergogna means to be ashamed. Quell'uomo non ha vergogna di niente. That man is not ashamed of anything. Avere vergogna di. To be ashamed of. That di means of. So hopefully this is all clear. Last two expressions we to have, we have avere bisogno di, ho bisogno di te, to need. Ho bisogno di te, I need you. Avere bisogno di. Literally, to have need of. And finally, avere voglia di, to feel like. But literally it translates as to have desire, to have craving of. Chi ha voglia di gelato? Who feels like ice cream? Avere voglia. Ho voglia di pizza. I feel like pizza. And you understand how it goes. Yes, so to feel like. Now, to speak about age. So avere, as we were saying right at the beginning, in the introduction, is used to talk about age. So in Italian, we are not 30 years old, but we have 30 years. We say how many years we have, which is pretty funny. Like to ask for someone's age, we say quanti anni, which translates as how many years. Then we have the verb avere, conjugated according to the person. And we ask afterwards, we have the person or the thing that we want to know the age of. It could be, for instance, how many years does your dad have? Literally, it translates as that. How many years does your dog have? So you understand how we construct the question. So, quanti anni, avere, and the person or thing that we want to know the age of. Let's see some examples there. So, quanti anni hai? Quanti anni hai? How old are you? Quanti anni hai is the question. So, quanti anni hai? How old are you? But literally translates as how many years do you have? Then we have another example. Quanti anni ha tua sorella? How old is your sister? And quanti anni ha questo tavolo? How old is this table? So you see the structure. Quanti anni, verb to have, avere, conjugated, and the rest of the sentence, which is literally what or who we want to know the age of. Here is the reply. Reply is quite easy. We have the subject, we have the verb to have, conjugated, avere, the number of years, and anni. Anni means years. And anni, saying anni, is compulsory, unless we only reply with the number of years that we have, which is the easiest reply. Quanti anni hai? Question. Answer. Ho 30 anni. I'm 30 years old. Translates as I'm 30 years old. Literally it translates as I have 30 years. Ho 30 anni. Or you could also say, so this is the correct answer, you could also say 30, 30. Okay, so just answering with the number is also correct. But we couldn't reply with ho 30. I have 30. No, because that would we would automatically assume that you would say something else after. There would have to be something that you have 30 of, if you understand. So ho 30 is wrong, okay? That's the wrong answer. So for how many years do you have? How old are you? Okay, quanti anni hai? You will need to respond with ho plus the number of years you have, and then anni, the number, how old you are. So ho 30 anni. Okay, anni, years is compulsory, we were saying, or you just say the number of years you, how old you are in number, in the one number, okay? We can see a few more examples, and I would really like if you in the comments, if you could let me know if you want to, how old you are, so answering as if I was asking you quanti anni hai, and you go with the answer. And as well, I can see if you guys got it right and I can correct you. That'd be really cool if you did. And yeah, so we got some more examples here. So mia sorella ha 13 anni, my sister is 13 years old, questo tavolo ha 2 anni, this table is 2 years old, i miei nonni hanno 80 anni, my grandparents are 80 years old. Yes, I think this concludes our lesson. That is all for today. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and let me know your age as well if you are so inclined. And if you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next episode. Ciao ciao!